So a question that I'm often asked is, what is aromatherapy? Aromatherapy has a technical definition of the therapeutic use of essential oils. So that means, in other words, using essential oils, which are highly concentrated plant extracts, for therapeutic purposes to benefit the body, mind and spirit. Aromatherapy is often thought of as perhaps being a bit of a soft therapy, but in fact essential oils have a really wide range of proven benefits on the physical body, on the mind, and also you could say on that sort of indefinable inner spirit. Aromatherapy works on a number of different levels. Physically, when we apply a diluted essential oil to the skin, the molecules of the essential oil are small enough that it will penetrate through the skin. But that's only if the essential oil has been put into the correct formulation. Essential oils are oil loving, so they need to be in a formulation that contains some kind of oil or something that will allow them to penetrate through the skin. So this can take minutes or can continue happening for hours. The oils will then slowly make their way into the bloodstream. They'll be circulated around the body. They'll have their effects within the body. And then within just a few hours, they'll be leaving the body. But in that time, they can have quite powerful effects within different types of cells, depending on the essential oil. Many of them have extremely good antibacterial properties, and we are now seeing in this age of antibiotic resistance a lot more focus on essential oils as antimicrobial agents. Essential oils also work through inhalation. Whenever we breathe any kind of blend formulation containing essential oils, those oils will be taken down into our lungs, and there they will enter the bloodstream and travel around the body to have their effects. On the way, they'll really do a good job of working on virus particles and bacteria that may cause respiratory illnesses. And a number of them can also help to break down mucus congestion in the chest. That's why we use things like eucalyptus and tea tree within our breathe products. Another way that essential oils work is on our mood. The fascinating thing about the sense of smell is that the pathway is shorter than with any of your other senses. So it seems as though those smell messages reach the brain very directly. They also work within a very primitive part of the brain known as the limbic system. And our limbic system is responsible for feelings of extreme joy, pleasure, but also fear and things like fight and flight. So when we take an aroma in and it passes through those parts of the brain, the aroma seems to work to change our mood. And by inhaling things like lavender or vetiver or geranium, we can calm brain activity, we can focus and sharpen brain activity, or we can lift the mood and have almost an antidepressant effect. So when you're using an essential oil blend on your body or in your bath or shower or even on your skin, you're having a combination of all of those effects. Aromatherapy is not a new therapy. The word itself is quite recent, only about 100 years old. But of course, mankind has used herbs, flowers and plant material as a form of medicine for thousands of years. Plants would have been one of the earliest therapeutic active agents that mankind could find. And we can go back and look at the ancient Egyptians, the ancient Indian scriptures, the Romans, the Greeks, the Chinese, and see a consistent use of plant remedies. And we still know that actually the majority of people in the world today rely on plant medicine as their frontline medicine. But modern aromatherapy came about and was given its name around about the 1900s. A chemist known as René-Maurice Gattefossé was busy distilling essential oils for a company that sold them to the perfumery industry. So clearly he was quite familiar with a lot of their fragrances and their effects. And he'd been researching lavender oil and he'd noted its antibacterial effect. If he put lavender oil on a cell culture dish, he noticed that bacteria would not grow where the lavender oil was. And he had the chance to put that into effect when there was an accident in the lab and he burned his arm very badly. In his diary, he said he jumped out of a window and rolled on the grass to extinguish the flames. So it must have been quite serious. And we're talking about a time before antibiotics, and his arm began to develop infection, gangrene in fact, and this is a very horrible bacterial infection for which at that time there would really not have been any cure. So it was serious. And in the true spirit of science, he decided to put his knowledge into practice. He plunged his arm into a vat of lavender oil, and which must have hurt extremely because lavender on open skin does sting quite badly, but he had nothing to lose. So in his diary he recorded that profuse sweating began that night, but even by the next morning he could see signs of healing. So it doesn't go on to record whether he repeated that, but I'm sure he did, and the arm eventually healed with not even a trace of scarring. So you can imagine that he redoubled his research into the effect of essential oils, and he wrote the first book on aromatherapy and actually gave it its name. Now his researches were read by other medical professionals, and for us the story continues with Dr. Jean Valnet, who used essential oils for physical treatment. He was in the French army and he used them to treat gunshot and battle wounds, and again this was in a time before antibiotics, when many people would have died from the infection of those wounds rather than the initial wounds, and he had great success in treating those injuries. He then went on to really be the first person to use essential oils for psychological conditions. He opened a clinic in Paris and used essential oils to treat depression, anxiety. Now our story continues with Marguerite Maury, who was the first person to use essential oils in massage. She worked with Dr. Valnet, but she used oils externally, where he was giving them as a form of medicine. She pioneered a massage style that brought together traditions of Eastern and Western massage. She was greatly ahead of her time, and so we would call her the founder of modern massage-based aromatherapy. She trained a number of people, and one of the people she trained, Micheline Arcier, brought aromatherapy to the UK. She came over to Britain in the late 1960s and she opened an aromatherapy clinic in Knightsbridge. And it was there that our company founders, Geraldine Howard and Sue Beachy, trained in aromatherapy. So they had an amazing education. Dr. Valnet actually used to come over to England on the cross-channel ferry to treat difficult conditions. So Sue and Geraldine were able to see aromatherapy practiced in a completely holistic way, and of course they saw some fantastic results. And that then inspired them to create their blends, and that's how Aromatherapy Associates was born.